Hey, how's everybody doing?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Well, so far so good.
Good.
Hmm.
Is your head cold?
Yes, it is.
Now it's warm.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's a little chilly up here by these big windows. You know,
I'll bet. Yeah, it's one of those wet, chilly days.
yeah. It's just after the last couple of days, it's not quite as nice.
Yeah, I think we have a week of this, right? Well, I think that
I
way.
don't know. I thought it was supposed to warm up in a day or two.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, me too. I'm. This is okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of prefer it, a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, hang on. I'm going to turn on a light. It feels like I'm sitting here in the dark. Totally.
How are you, Rebecca? Did you start your garden yet?
Well, my garden is year-round.
Oh, okay.
I have pots on my back porch, and then I have a small herb garden in the backyard. And no, I haven't started anything.
Oh, okay.
But I have leftovers from the fall, including parsley that is going great guns, but I can't eat it because I planted it around the base of 2 apple trees that I'm trying to grow in pots on my patio. And I have had to fertilize the apple trees with a fertilizer that has copper in it. So I dare not eat the parsley unless I want copper poisoning. But they look real pretty.
Okay. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Susan.
How are you? Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hi.
how you doing?
Susan, you got a haircut. It looks
Yeah,
great.
look, yeah.
Yeah, I had to chop it off. It was getting stuck in the mask. All that stuff.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Hey, John, what's going on?
Hello, how are we doing? Hey, Rebecca,
far, so
nice to
good.
see you again.
Nice to see you again.
Armando is here. Hello,
Hey,
Armando.
Armando. Hey, Armando.
Yes. Armando is even here. Yay.
Wow.
Well, yes, I didn't. I missed one day this week, but I don't know exactly which day.
Okay.
Well, isn't today only
That used to be
Tuesday?
yesterday.
Yes. Yes, it's only Tuesday, so.
Okay, all right. I just need to make sure.
We are at war in my complex.
You're at
Oh.
war?
Yes, against the president of the association.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Say what?
Against the president of the association. She's becoming a queen bee.
Oh, okay.
Good luck. Good luck on that.
Armando, you are a great peacemaker and peacekeeper. Keep that in mind.
Well, when somebody tell you my way or no way, and I don't care, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
Wow.
Then you just turn around and walk away.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you could do that.
Well, you can
Or
vote them
you could vote her off the board.
Well, that might happen.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but then somebody's got to be prepared to step up and kind of fill her shoes.
That's all the problem, getting somebody to fill in.
That's right. Yeah, particularly on HOAs, things like that, because
Yes,
it's kind of a thankless,
extremely,
No.
yes.
I don't care what you do, people aren't going to like it. Somebody's not going to
Nope.
like
Never.
Nobody like it.
it. So,
That's true.
yeah.
Can't please everybody.
That's
And
right.
Rarely do you please anybody.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, you're lucky if you can just keep you happy. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of been my experience in life.
Well, I see Veronica's comfortable on her couch. I hope she doesn't go to
Yes.
sleep.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, she's hanging out on the couch. You know, she's got a new background today, you know. You know, I've got a new background today because you guys are seeing the other end of the studio today. So
Oh, okay.
Oh, but this is your studio, not the center studio.
no, it's not. Yeah, it's not at the Benson Center. This is up here in the loft, you know, by these big windows, which is why I'm wearing my little knit cap, because it's, you know, a little cool outside.
Yeah, it's cool outside, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the,
By Saturday, the high is going to be in the 40s.
Well, I have my heater
oh,
off.
okay.
My heater is off.
Your
Uh-oh.
heater is off.
You'll have to turn it back on.
It works, right?
So, yeah,
It does work.
I turned it off.
Oh, you turned it off. Oh, okay.
Oh, so you're choosing to be cold?
It's not cold for me inside my house. Outside a little bit, but inside my apartment, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, we've made the decision to turn the thermostat down to 65. So that's where we keep it now. And
That's healthy.
yeah, you know, I mean, it's cool. Like in the
But
morning.
not cold.
Yeah,
It's cool. Yeah.
It's you're not gonna freeze, but
No.
But you
Yeah.
gotta wear a little sweater or have a throw or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, you can't run around barefoot.
No. And if you get too cold, then you turn it up for an hour and then you turn it right back down to 65.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're not doing that. We're going to the closet and getting a sweater or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to
throw.
sleep in the closet.
What was that?
I thought you were going to say you're going to sleep in the closet.
No, he's not
What
gonna
good
sleep
would
in the
that do? It
closet.
would be any warmer in the closet than anywhere else in the house. Anyway, so let's get started. Okay. Anyway, it's good to see you all. Let's see who's here. Okay, come on. There we go. There's 6 of us. Okay. So we got John, Rebecca, Susan, Veronica, and Armando. Okay, so there's really 5 of you and me. Okay. All right. So we got,
Tuesdays always seem sparse.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Monday
I guess.
morning is the biggest crowd. Then
Yeah.
Tuesday seems sparse.
Well, actually, Friday seems to be the biggest crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, Friday. Yeah.
Because we're drawing.
Yeah. hmm Yeah. Fridays, we usually online get somewhere between like 12 to 16 or 18 people. You know, and yeah, Mondays, yeah, we're like 12 to 14 usually. And I guess, yeah, Tuesdays, about 8 normally. And then Thursdays, about 8. And then Wednesday, you know, Wednesdays, sometimes, you know, we do really well on Wednesdays. Sometimes we have like 14 or 15 people. So, you know, sometimes not. It just
It's a toss-up.
yeah, it depends on what people are doing, I guess. Anyway,
Well, with the weather getting a little nicer, I think people are venturing out and doing more things too.
mhm,
I know I am.
yeah. Well, in that case, they should all be here on lunch because it's
Yeah.
yeah. Other than Armando coming back from lunch, you know. But that's
No, I didn't go today.
You didn't go today?
No, I had to clear something here in my
Yeah, I was there
the
today.
building, the back of the building.
I
That's
didn't
the
see
thing.
you today.
Oh,
So I
okay.
couldn't go today.
Oh, okay. All right. That's why you're eating lunch now. You're having fries, huh? Okay.
I haven't spicy, hot spicy sweet potato fries.
Oh,
Ooh, I love sweet potato fries. Those are good.
all right. So we got a fair amount of work to show today. You know, most of you sent something in. So let's take a look, see what we got. Eloise sent something in, but she's not here today. And I don't think I got anything from Bob so far. But
Are she and Bob doing that Tuesday thing again?
yeah. Well, Bob is in the morning class, I think, and she's in the afternoon class, or vice versa, one of the two. I don't know. You know. Anyway, so we're not going to start off with her because I'll come back and talk to her. But let's start off with you guys, okay? So speaking of Eloise, yeah, you know, this is her drawing. And we have a lady by the name of Elaine Johnson who's been joining us lately for the drawing, and she sent this in, but I haven't seen her online since, but this is when we did the orchids. She did a really nice job. This colored pencil. And, you know, nice little
What's
drawing.
it on? The background looks like a tile almost.
Yeah, I don't know whether she put that in, you know, with a marker, or, you know, it kind of looks almost like she used a marker for that. Like
Was she going for a grid, you think? A grid?
I'm not sure, you know.
I wonder, no, because if the top blossom goes out beyond it, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a nice, it's another layer, it's another element.
Right.
You know, and if you crop it a little bit tighter, actually,
Yes.
you know, let's say, so we cropped it like that, say, you know, yeah, it makes a pretty nice little composition. Let's see if we can scoot it over to the very edge, yeah, like right there. So, yeah, if we just kind of kept it, you know, like right in there, it's a, you know, nice little piece.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think, well, now that I'm looking at it, it looks like it may be some colored pencil, but it looks like it might be marker as well. So I'd like to ask her one day when she gets back.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we have Eloise, and this is her drawing of that bust.
Right.
And this is the one from Friday, the geometric.
You did pretty good on that.
Yeah, she got this egg kind of levitating. Off
Little,
where, yeah, I'm trying to find my, yeah, this one right here seems to be kind of
Right.
floating. Because if that were actually sitting on the surface, it would be at or below the point of where that makes contact. So, but overall, I mean, you know, she got that geometric shape in there pretty well. Her ellipses look good.
it's actually pretty good. I had difficulty with the geometric
Uh-huh.
shape.
Yeah, that one. I love putting that in there because it does. It really throws people off, you know. And it's like once you figure it out, it's not all that hard, you know, because it's basically a pyramid, and then it's got, you know, like a cube, you know, sticking through it.
Right.
But it's you know, you got to kind of break it down that way. This is the seated figure that she did. So, you know, so pretty, you know, pretty nice drawings for Friday.
Yep.
Then we have John, and speaking of his cube,
Uh,
the
a little off, a little bit off.
yeah, proportions are, it's a little bit wonky. Yeah.
excuse me.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, it's me or your system. I got an interruption and I have to redo it again. Is your system or my system?
Your system.
Must be your system. I don't know.
Well, yeah, we have a Comcast chip 6, and I don't recommend it. Happen all the time now.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe
I'm sorry.
when you become HOA president, you can change that and get better internet.
We can go back to AT&T. It's more expensive, but it's good service.
Yeah, well, there's something to be said for reliability. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, John, yeah, you got off a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole left side of it is actually, pretty much so right on.
Mhm. Yeah.
Having a hard time seeing my cursor today, but yeah, if you take this line right here, this vertical,
Right.
yeah, from here to the left, everything's fine. It's from there to the right.
Well, that's the side I worked on. I didn't finish it to need more work more on the right side. So
Yeah, but you see right here where this meets, that it doesn't connect and go out that way. It actually goes back
correct.
at an angle. And here, let's look at Eloise's. She did get that right.
She got it good. Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
good.
I was impressed at how well she did.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, she really got the form of that pretty well.
Very nice.
And the values are, pretty good representation of what was going on there with the light and the shadow. So, so yeah, you need to work with that one
Definitely.
a little bit more. So, just for you, we'll have to have that show back up again 1 or 2 more times. So you can
I appreciate that so much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't really think it's just John, because I go through that too.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's it goes back to that thing. You really got to just slow down and really look at it and figure out what's going on there.
I thought my mug was decent.
Yeah. Well, no, the mug's fine, and the whole left-hand side of that geometric shape is fine. It's the right side that just kind of went somewhere. It didn't seem like you really got that far on the ball or the egg.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you've got them indicated, but they don't look as
No, I didn't really work on them.
studied and things. But yeah, but we know what you meant, and that would have given you your 4 options. So now when it came to your seated figure, you actually did a really lovely job on that, John.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, you got the feeling of her legs coming forward. I actually like the fact that you sort of simplified in the face, and you didn't get caught up in the detail. Really, where you put your effort was around what the hands were doing and the legs, particularly the front part of the leg. And and she feels, kind of anchored, like she's sitting there. So, yeah. You pulled that one off really nice. And then this one, again.
That's not mine. That's June.
Oh, okay, that's true. Okay. So you didn't send this.
I didn't do that one. I didn't attempt it. I knew in the time we had left, I would not be able to do anything, so I just didn't do it.
No.
I took a screenshot and was going to do it later, but I haven't gotten around to doing that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I sent reference out to people if they requested it.
Yeah. I did take the screenshot, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you would like me to send you the higher res version of it, I can do that. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Just send me an email and I'll reply to you. Okay.
Okay. All righty.
All right. So moving on, we have Miss June Wang. I saw her.
Yes, I'm here.
How you doing there?
I'm here.
You're here? Okay. Well, it is Tuesday. Yeah, it's hard to get terribly.
Let's see the.
Huh?
I don't have.
Say what, Armando? Oh, I think Armando went away. Okay. You did a nice job with this, June. The thing is.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice little drawing. The kind of where it's off at though is in the proportions of the hip and the legs to the upper body. And it's like the legs needed to be about half again as big. And then they would have been in proportion with the upper body.
Okay. Little bit, the leg looks a little bit shorter, right?
Yes, yeah, they're too small.
Too small. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that way.
Yeah,
The-
if you,
the top.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
if you look at the like the width of her hip,
Uh-huh.
from top of her leg to here,
Yeah.
you know, that's way too narrow. See,
Okay.
we have, I know we do. We actually have. I put the images in here. I think, didn't I? Please say that I did. Yes. Okay. Yeah, here she is. Okay. So if you look at like how thick her leg
Yeah,
is
yeah,
here,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, you know, it would have to be about the same width or the same distance because from here to like here on her
And
leg.
here, yes, yes,
Yeah. And in your
Yeah.
drawing,
yes, yeah,
it doesn't quite do that. You know,
correct.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. When I
Also-
did it, I feel, uh-oh.
Yeah. Also the height. So you could have made it taller and thicker.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Yes,
But you know, when you look at it, see, it's like you look at the distance from here to here, and then
Yeah.
this could have been like from here to about right there.
yeah,
And then height-wise, the top of that knee could be maybe up to about here. So the first-
mm-hmm, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the legs just get overall a little bit bigger. Okay. It's
Okay,
as far as your, now this was tricky because, and the reason I put this in there was that there was lots of foreshortening. Okay. You know, things moving away from you, right? And you were pretty good about, you know, distorting and pushing the scale of, you know, getting the feet down here at the bottom to look bigger so they feel like
Mhm.
closer to you. And then the legs, they didn't really diminish a lot, you know, on her. But, you know, the scale of the feet, you know, to the knees, to the hips, all of that works pretty well. So she does, you know, feel like she's going back, right? And then you know, the thing is with the shoulders, it's like, you know, this could have gotten a little bit smaller, you know, going back, and then the head would have been, you know, pretty close to the proportion that you needed it. But you got her a little bit broad in here, not by much, just a little. Okay.
okay.
And then this is the most fun part right here. And you kind of did the same thing.
I didn't have time to finish it.
I know. Okay, that was the idea. And you were only supposed to do 4 things. So you could have picked any 4, right? Ah, isn't it off? There's little Joe. Okay. All right. So so the thing here is, okay, you got the elements in there and you got them where they need to be. The only thing that's really off is you see your ellipses here, like the ball and the egg right here. You've got them anchored onto the surface about the same place that the edge of this geometric they would have need to come down a little below that.
Okay,
Because they didn't sit on this line, you know, they sat below. Go take a look at that. That's why we put this stuff in here. Okay, so you see where the base of that geometric shape is? And how
Yes,
the
yes,
ball
yes.
comes below that line,
uh-huh.
and then how the egg comes even lower to say that it's actually
Yes.
in front of the ball. Okay. So it's, you got to look at where things sit in the picture plane, because the lower they sit, the closer they are to you. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, I see it.
Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so we were looking at this. All right. Other than that, I mean, we can tell what the objects are. Now the ellipse on this cup, it's like you kind of curved it a little bit too much. That cup, or the top of the cup, was really almost like right at our eye level. Excuse me. Where'd they go? They're in here. Yeah. So you see, it's almost a straight line. See? It really doesn't dip. It's pretty close to straight.
Yeah.
And then the bottom, see, the bottom is the one that curves. Because
Curve, yes.
Yeah, because it's below our eye level. See? So this is at, anything up here would have been above, and then all of this would be below our eye level. Okay?
Yeah.
So, all right. But as far as, again, you got your elements in there, you got the shadows, on the right side, you've got, most of the elements in pretty good position. It's just the 3 round objects. You needed to drop them, maybe about 1/4 of an inch or so. All 3 of them, just bring them down. Okay.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
With me, with something like the mug and the difference in the ellipses, I think it's our mind. It's what we see and what we perceive. We think we see it, but we think it should be different.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. So then that leaves me in an interesting quandary. Why?
Well, because you have to practice and learn how to draw. You have to learn how to draw what you see. And perception is part of seeing it, but practice makes what you see more lifelike.
I'm glad you agree with me, Rebecca.
I'm gonna have to think about that one for a minute, Rebecca.
Why's that? Did I get something wrong?
Well,
No. The more you draw, the better you get. The better you get, the more realistic it looks. That's my philosophy.
yes. Okay. Yeah.
And that's what I meant.
Yeah. I think, you got the concept, which is, yes, draw more. The more time you spend drawing, I guess I would say it this way. The more time you spend drawing, the more it's going to teach you how to see and what to look for.
All right, I'm writing that down. The more time you spend drawing, it teaches you how to see. Is that what you said?
Yep, how to see.
How to see, okay. And
what to actually look for.
thank you. Because
I think that's a good assessment.
Because one of the problems in figure drawing, in fact, the biggest problem in figure drawing, isn't people's lack of knowledge about anatomy. It's not about their understanding of proportions. It's that they don't know where, they don't know how to begin. When they're given a figure, like, let's go back a little bit, like this figure right here. Okay. The tendency, and everybody will do this, everybody. They'll straighten the model up, which June did, by the way. You know, and they'll, you know, they don't see subtle angles, right? So the figure ends up straight up and down instead of, you know, kind of running slightly diagonally across the page, which she should be. So, you know, you miss those angles, you miss sort of the relationship of where things are in relationship to each other, you know, or proportions. You know, it's easy to get that stuff wrong if you're not really super aware of it and really look for it. So that's why, you know, when drawing a figure in a short pose, you know, I always have you guys do what we call the longest line, the gesture, right?
Right.
And if you really look, let's go back to her, the actual photo of her. So if you really look at her, you see she's really not straight up and down. Notice that you could take, and you can draw kind of a diagonal line from the top of her head right down through the center of her body to her toe. See, there's nothing vertical about that. See, you know, that would be vertical, right? But she's not, she's way over here, her head. And so there's more of an angle to her. The only thing that's really vertical there is this leg. That's it. And everything else is at an angle.
Charles, is it because she's leaning backwards slightly?
Well, it's like, yeah, she's leaning backwards, but also it's the angle. You know, when I took this photograph of her, I wasn't standing directly in front of her. I was slightly, you know, slightly off to the right of her. And so that, again, you know, that adds that little bit of an angle. So if you want to draw her figure, you know, you're not going to start with a straight line, you know, going vertical through her body. It's got to be, you know, this slight diagonal. You know, probably about maybe a 15-degree angle, right? Mm-hmm. If we wanted to measure it. And remember what I keep saying about how the human eye sees, you know, and how we have to fight with our brain, because our brain wants to take everything and make it straight up and down or horizontal. It doesn't like anything in between. You know, it can kind of tolerate 45 degrees. You know, that kind of makes sense to it. But when you get to 10 or 12 or 15 degrees, you know, something like that, or 30 degrees, you know, then it plays havoc with your brain because your brain's wanting to straighten it up.
I think in this case, the swag of the fabric to me helped indicate that she was maybe a little bit at an angle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but you know, yeah, and the reason, like I said, the reason I put it that there was that, you know, a lot of people like this person, Eloise, you know, and June, you know, both sort of straightened her up. You know, you got a little bit of an angle on her, you know. And remember when I keep, you know, I keep saying to you guys, if you think you see an angle, then push it. Don't try to draw at that angle. Try to make it more extreme, you know, by 10 or 15%. And the reason I say do that is because, you know, that's probably closer to reality. And again, your brain is, you know, straightening it up for you. So you really got to kind of look at it very carefully, okay? So then we're going to do Rebecca. And Rebecca's finished up her alphabet She sent me the last 5 letters. So, you know, I've never heard of vicuña.
I hadn't either. But he's in the camel family, and is also kin to llamas. He's like a small llama.
Yeah, that's what I thought, you know.
So guess what I learned about him. The hair on his chest grows very slowly. It takes 3 years for it to get as long as what I'm showing. But it's considered the most costly wool in the world. It costs thousands of dollars for 1 little ounce.
Really?
Yes, and they're considered sacred to the Indians in the Andes Mountains where it lives.
Okay.
And it's protected. And at one point, it was almost extinct because so many people were killing it for meat. And then they found out how much people wanted the wool, so they have increased the herds. And now it's a big money-making thing for the native people that live there.
Vicuna coats were the big rage for was it the 30s? In the 30s?
I wasn't alive then, John. I don't know.
I wasn't around then, so.
I was, and I wasn't either, but 30s, 40s, some period where vicuna, like top coats for men, were a status symbol.
Huh. Okay. Who knew? Okay. Well, I learned a new animal today. I was not familiar with that one. So,
I wasn't either. You can tell it's in the camel family
yeah.
by its eyes.
Well, yeah. It actually, yeah. They're all undulates, right?
Yes,
Camels, llamas. Yeah, they're all kind of the same. But yeah, this kind of reminded me more of a llama than a camel.
right. I agree.
And then with the pronunciation of the name, you know, that has to be South American, I would think.
So when you pronounce it, the Hispanic method of pronouncing it is vicuña.
Right.
There's like a JA or a YA at the end, vicuña.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, yeah, that little tilde mark over the top. Yeah. Is that accent. And then you got walrus for W.
Right.
Okay. And by the way, your composition is getting better. Okay.
What?
Your compositions are getting better.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Yeah, you haven't.
I'm working hard.
You haven't done the I'm stacking everything up on top of each other.
See, an old dog can learn new tricks.
Well, yes. See, that's why we're here. We can learn. You know, and you know, I mean, you look at this animal, and you know exactly what he is. You know? Now
they're very smart. They can be trained. The ones that you see at Marineland and all that kind of thing are very smart.
Yeah, yeah. They can also be rather ill-tempered too, though.
Well, it's very hefty. You don't want to get in its way.
No. Yeah, and certain seasons, yeah, they're like perpetually pissed off, you know. So, yeah, you definitely want to stay out of their way. They're kind of like moose, you know.
And Rebecca?
Yes.
I have to say, I don't know any old dogs. Not in this group, anyway.
Well, John, I hate to tell you this, but yeah, you know, they could be talking about you, me, and Armando. So.
Well, I hope not.
You hope not.
Well, I was not referring to anybody else but myself.
Right. And this one's new to me too, you know. So it's a Zolo?
Zolo, yeah, and it's from a much longer word. I think I have it written on the back. I can't pronounce it real well, but this is the Mexican hairless dog. And now it's in the, they've made it a part of the registry for dog breeds. And they come in 3 different sizes. There's a a tall, a medium, and a small. But the small one
Mhm.
is the one that I'm familiar with because they used to advertise them being so small they would fit into a teacup.
Yeah.
And they are hairless, but now the new breeds that they've developed have a very beautiful, shiny, but short coat. And they're also very friendly. They're also very intelligent. And I just like the way they look.
Yeah. Now, I know a little bit about dogs, not a lot. Okay. But now, didn't that like hairless breed, didn't that kind of originate in like China?
I thought it was Mexico.
Well, I mean, dogs have gone all over the world now. But yeah, I thought that hairless breed actually originated like in China, and then
It may have, yeah.
yeah, and then it kind of spread all over the world. And they're what I call so ugly that they're cute. Because well, the original hairless breeds, you know, they had lots of extra skin for some reason. You know,
Yeah.
like lots of folds and you know around their face and stuff.
Right. Well, these are, that one that I've made a picture of is obviously not, but when the babies, when the puppies are very tiny, their skin is so wrinkled and so hairless that sometimes they develop acne. And so the owners have to be very careful about washing them down a certain way until they get through that phase. And then they kind of outgrow it like a teenager.
Huh. Right. Wow. Okay.
See what you learn? It's just
know.
amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's why I always love doing illustration work, you know, for publishers. You know, I mean, it didn't pay like great money. It paid well, but it didn't pay great money. But it wasn't the money. It was the fact that you had to do all the research, you know, on the subject that you were, you know, doing an illustration for. So you really kind of understood what you were doing. And you just learned so much from it, you know, from the process of doing it, which I always found really fun. So, and then of course you have your yak, you know, and those are interesting animals as well. And last but not least, you got Mr. Zebra there. Okay. Now you had done a zebra before. This looks like a new drawing.
I don't remember it. I hadn't done one for the alphabet book.
I thought
I may have talked about it, but I never actually did one.
Okay. Huh. Okay. I thought I showed one like this. You know, I mean, not like this. Kind of like an earlier version.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, every time you do one, they turn out a little bit differently because you have gone back and you've learned more about them. And for example, around the muzzle, they have like a little mask.
Mhm.
And the stripes on them are so unique and so interesting. And that each animal has like a fingerprint, stripes that are all its own.
Mhm.
And there's no other zebra that has the same stripes as it does.
Right. Yep. Yeah, they're, you know, they're kind of fascinating animals, you know, being a member of the horse family. And in fact, they've now started breeding domestic breeds of horses with zebra. And the reason that they're doing that is that zebras have a lot of immunity to a lot of the diseases that domestic horses get. And so they've been crossbreeding them to give, you know, horses, you know, better immune properties, right?
They're unique too. That's very interesting. They're unique too in that they can withstand very high heats, which is why you find them in the continent of Africa so much.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're cool animals. So,
Mhm.
all right. So now that you have all of the alphabet done, what's the next step?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So I'm now going back and writing about a paragraph for each animal to be included in the book for information purposes about something, at least five facts about each animal and something unique about each animal.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to look for a publisher.
Okay. All right. Good. And when you find the 5 facts out, what are you doing with that? You said you're incorporating it in the book. Is it going to be like on the back side of the page, and these are all going to be, front-facing illustrations?
I think that because I am finding different amounts of information about each animal,
Mhm.
some I'm able to find a lot more information about than others, that I will probably put it either on the back or at the very end of the book in alphabetical order.
Oh,
But
So like a footnotes?
mhm.
yeah, not footnotes, but just an addendum, whatever you call it, but here's the rest of the story. You've seen the pictures, but it's got to be easy enough for the person that reads the book to be able to flip back and forth, because there's a lot of interesting information about each animal.
Mhm.
I don't think it would fit on the pages because I think it would detract from the composition itself.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. If I could make a recommendation, since you've done them all on individual sheets,
Right.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't put them on like facing pages or anything like that. I would have,
No,
yeah,
yeah, I agree.
I
Too
would have
much,
it,
too much going on.
yeah. I would have it all, on a right side page. And then when you turn the page, then you get the extra facts on the back of the page,
Right,
and
Right.
then you get the new image over on the right,
correct.
and then you
Yes.
can turn it again. It's kind of like Audubon prints. They came in a book, but they were bound together, and they didn't ever back any of the images back to back. They always put them on the front. The reason being, they did kind of the same thing.
So what was the first sentence you said? They're kind of like what prints?
Audubon,
Oh, Audubon. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
right? Yeah, because you would buy these volumes of Audubon books, and it would
Yes.
have like 125 or 150 prints in it. And the prints were set up, they were bound like in a book, but they were intended so that people could take and they could break the binding on the book and take the book apart and then put them in frames, as decorative pieces. But it would also give information, about the particular animal on the back side of the print.
So when they framed them, did they do them in one of those glass frames that you could see the front and the back?
No. Once they framed them, you lost sort of the notes on it.
Right.
But on the front, they were all labeled, so it would give you the name and the genus,
Right.
the family of the bird, or
Right.
the plant, because they did both birds, plants, they did all kinds of things.
So going back to one of the, I've gotten to, I'm going back through the whole alphabet and I've gotten past, it's either the egret or the ibis. I think it might be the egret, but the National Audubon Society uses that as their national symbol.
Mhm.
If you see a picture of the Audubon Society, you'll see the egret.
Right. Yep. Okay. Well, that was a good project for you.
Oh, it was fun. I learned so much and got to practice a lot of drawing and coloring. And I
So
feel very,
now we want to see what you do next. Okay.
There you go. Well, the drawing and creating is just one part of this thing. Then you've got to do the writing about them. Then you've got to incorporate that in a certain way. And then you've got to put it together. And then you've got to have a good cover. And then you've got to have a lot of stuff. So it's a long process. It's much longer than you would think. And anybody that says publishing a book for children is 1, 2, 3, or I'm sorry, they're wrong.
Yeah, no, I've never seen a children's book ever roll off the press as 1, 2, 3. There's a lot of care and thought that always go into those. So, yeah. Anyway, lovely job.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you for your input.
You're welcome. Susan.
I apologize. I have to leave. We've got to go to a birthday party.
Oh, okay.
Our granddaughter is 5 today.
Yay. Okay. Well,
Thank
congratulations.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. So, Susan.
Yeah,
So
I'm here.
This is your long drawing, which really only ended up being about 30 minutes. So, young lady, you're getting better.
Thank you.
Well, you're beginning to be able to lay in some value and tone and keep it fairly soft.
I rubbed them this time.
Yeah, okay, that helped, right?
Right.
Now, you kind of did the same thing June did, where it's like that lower the legs and things. To keep it on the page, you seem to have, squeezed them a little bit and made them a little smaller.
Yeah.
So yeah, almost the exact same thing that June did, as far as scale and proportion. So yeah, if you think of it this way, the way that she was laying, it's like one of the closest points to our view, to where we were in relationship to her, was really right here, at about her hip. That was kind of the closest point to us. And so to pull that off, you have to kind of push and distort the drawing a little bit, and make that a little bit larger than maybe you think it should be, so that it comes forward, right? And the rest of it can go back. Then we have your seated figure. Yeah. Now, the thing is, again, where you kind of got off were in the proportions again. And the legs and the feet in particular, being closest to us, again, that's one of those situations where you've really got to push and enlarge those feet and the lower legs and things to make it feel like she's coming forward. Now, the thing is, you had. I
didn't realize it was so curved over that what I did to that one leg.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of awkward because, that particular leg was coming almost straight out at you. On the upper leg, and then it went down, kind of at an angle. And you kind of saw the angle, but you could have pushed it a little bit more. But overall, the feeling of the body and how it moves, you got more of that leaning feeling, where she's leaning backward than, quite a few people. So overall you did pretty good. It's just really, do you ever measure things with like using a pencil or something like that?
Yeah, I try. I do try to do that, but it doesn't always.
Okay.
It doesn't always come out right, but.
Yeah, it takes practice. It takes practice, and you always have to remember that when you're measuring something, you want to keep that arm straight out.
Oh, okay.
because if you don't have it straight out, you know, if you have your elbow bent, well, you know, you might bend your elbow, you know, just a little this time, and then the next time you'll bend it more. And so it's
So it doesn't come
inconsistent.
out right.
Yeah.
Okay,
But keeping your arm straight out and your elbow locked, you know, then that scale is always proportional. Okay.
thank you. That's a good point to know. Thank you.
And then last but not least, you know, you took on the dreaded geometric object. And, you know, you got it kind of like 3/4 right. Okay. You know, the whole left side of it, you know, looks pretty much kind of the way it was. The right side, you got real close. You know, you've got a good, I had a hard time keeping up with my cursor today.
Yeah, it's too big on the right, I think.
Yeah. Well, not really. Yeah, it wouldn't have been so big on the right if you had gotten this angle and that went back, you know, to about this point back here. And then it would have been, you know, kind of proportional, right?
Okay.
And the problem is you got this too vertical. See, but up here you got it right. See, if you follow that line straight through,
Uh-huh.
see, you end up way out here, right? Which is where you should be. And then it connects to this point, right? So that's all one big plane, you know, on that pyramid shape.
Okay, I'm going to mention one thing to you, Charles. When you sent the picture of that, the picture didn't look like what it looked like it was at a little bit different angle.
Yeah,
So,
you're right. I did. I sent the wrong picture.
So I got kind of confused because I started shading it a little bit differently from that, and then I realized, well, this isn't the same picture that we drew from. So,
Yeah.
but I still had the other shading in there too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I couldn't see where it was going to be cut off. I knew the thing was too big, and I was going to try to adjust it, but I couldn't really from the picture you sent.
Okay.
So that's okay.
Yeah, that was my bad. Yeah, I did. I unfortunately selected, not for everybody, but for a couple of people. I guess I got the wrong image and sent it out. So
Yeah, it just confused me a little bit, but
yeah, I had to go back and sort through them and find the right one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I noticed that when I opened it up, it's like, oh, this isn't the right one. So
yeah,
I apologize.
that's okay. It was just I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't right. Okay, but
Okay. All right.
so that's actually why there's shading inside of the cup handle.
Mhm.
Because there shouldn't have been, but there was, I think, on the second picture. So it was it was a little different. But.
Okay. Well, it doesn't hurt the cup to have a little bit of shading inside the handle.
Okay.
You could actually, you know, bring it out behind the cup here too a little bit, and that would have helped you kind of isolate that highlight at the top of the cup right there. If the background had like a slight tone to it, you could help, you know, define where that is. So yeah, but yeah, you did good with all three of those.
Thank you.
Little by little, it's getting better. So that's everything I got. Okay, as far as what people sent in. It's only 3 o'clock. I do have, I'll have to go get it, but I do have, actually, I stumbled across a video about the regiment of classical drawing within the Russian education system. Would anybody be interested in seeing that? Yeah. It's actually pretty interesting because, you know, they really do old school You know, this is how they would train artists, really from the Renaissance forward. You know, and this guy is talking about, you know, that whole educational process. You know, I thought it might be worthwhile, you know, seeing. Let me find it. Okay. Story. Okay. See of the people. Yeah, he was an interesting guy. Let's see. Back here somewhere. I think I maybe sent it to myself too. So if I can't find it here in the lineup. Okay, let's go look in Outlook and see. Okay, Art Nouveau. Yes. Okay. Got it.
Life Drawing Academy tutor is your.
All right. Altogether, it says that this is 32 minutes, but the part that we want to watch.
Drawing from Life.
Well,
how to develop.
You know, the part we want to watch really lasts about 15 minutes. And then the rest of it, they're just trying to sell, you know, you on taking a correspondence course. So, which, you know, might be kind of interesting, you know, and it actually at this point might be kind of impossible, seeing as how they're in Russia. It's like there may not be any way of actually paying them for a correspondence course at this point, you know, with what they're doing with the banking and all. So, all right. So away we go.
Alexander Pushkin about art and life drawing, as well as how to cultivate good drawing skills. Drawing from Life. How to develop good drawing skills. In Russia, there is a traditional classical art education system. Unlike in the West, it wasn't derailed in the 20th century. This system steadily and methodically prepares fine artists starting from art schools for children to postgraduate degrees. In a children's art school, a student starts from very simple tasks like, for example, drawing a sphere from life and rendering its tonal values. Gradually, such student learns how to hold a pencil, how to draw lines, how to hatch strokes along contours. Drawing tasks get more complex, and students learn to draw vases and other geometrical, man-made objects. Drawing simple objects prepares students for more advanced topics like drawing a human eye, for example. Because an eye has a spherical shape and students already know how to draw a sphere, depicting an eye is not a great leap from simple objects to human body forms. If an adult decides to learn drawing, his or her way to art would be very tough. Such a person usually doesn't have time to spend the whole year drawing just spheres, cones, or cubes. At the same time, one would need to develop muscle memory to handle a pencil proficiently, which requires separate, long exercises. And if an adult art student wants to draw a model from life, it would be very challenging without the basic foundation and necessary drawing skills. At the same time, when someone has a burning desire to draw and succeed in art, such a person would not require constant reassuring and praise. He or she would understand that constructive critique is useful and helpful. For example, my students often tell me, "Alexander, do not give praise, just advise about what is wrong with my work. Give me the harsh truth." Learning to draw. How long does it take to learn drawing?
Художественная школа где-то начинает с 9-10 лет.
In Russia, children who would like to become fine artists start their art education in art schools from the age of 9 or 10. By the end of this school, which takes 4 to 5 years, they have a very good drawing, painting, decorative arts, composition, and sculpting skills, as well as a firm knowledge of the history of arts. Nevertheless, to enter a good art academy, it is necessary to take 3 additional years of preparatory courses to raise their drawing and painting skills to the next level. Art Academy entry exams include drawing a figure and a portrait from life. A student should demonstrate high level of drawing skills and full understanding of constructive drawing principles and the knowledge of human body proportions and anatomy. Such skills and knowledge students receive in art schools and courses, where the first year is spent on drawing only geometrical objects. It starts with flat casts of rosettes. From flat objects, they move to 3-dimensional bodies like spheres, cubes, prisms, cones, and cylinders. The next year is dedicated to transition from drawing single objects to simple still lifes, which consist of man-made geometrical objects. Such still lifes become more complex with the addition of draperies. Students move to drawing classical order capitals, organic 3-dimensional rosettes, and still lifes with organic items that are getting more elaborate and advanced. Drawing man-made and natural things lasts a long period of time. The next step is progressing to drawing separate facial features like eyes, a nose, a mouth, and an ear. Afterward, students draw a human skull in various views. Life drawing continues with simple head casts that have geometrical planes. After this, students are given to draw écorché of a head, which shows the muscles of a head without skin. Only after these exercises are these art students ready to move on to drawing casts of classical Greek and Roman busts, which are also ordered from simple to more difficult. Step by step, students learn construction, anatomy, and proportions of a human head. This takes about 1 year. Thereafter, they advance to studying anatomy and construction of a human body. They draw casts of arms and hands, including écorché, skeletal anatomy, feet, and other parts of a human body. The study continues with drawing écorché of a torso from different points of view and progressing to drawing casts of full standing figures. Studying casts of classical busts, torsos, and figures also takes a lot of time. Every drawing takes from 20 to 40 hours, and students spend about 1 year drawing cast figures from life. Only then are students considered ready to draw live models. This is the final step of their pre-academy art education. Usually, it is very easy for these students to advance from drawing classical casts to portraying live models because there has been a great deal of preparatory work done in the previous 4 to 6 years. If you are wondering if it is possible to do it any faster, probably is. If you are exceptionally talented and already have good constructive drawing skills and proficient tonal rendering techniques, and all that remains is to fill in the knowledge gaps in anatomy for artists and body proportions. This system gives great results and has developed very skillful and original fine artists for many centuries. I hope that these teaching methods will stay in place in my country for future generations of artists to come. Becoming an artist. What students learn in Russian art academies. The skill to draw realistic portraits and figures does not necessarily make someone an artist. To become a fine artist at a high level, students must enter one of the best art academies in Moscow or St. Petersburg, where they will spend another 4 to 6 years, depending on the course. There, they will take part in more advanced tasks than just drawing proportionate portraits with likeness. Now, a student will learn how to portray personality and describe moods in portraits and figures. A student will learn how, in simple drawing of a hand, to tell a story about the person, his life, his thoughts, and his moods. The same applies to drawing a foot or a full body. Students will portray single sitters and do multi-figured compositions on given topics. Every new cycle of life drawing assignment will be more difficult and demand higher levels of skill. In the Stroganov Art Academy in Moscow, where I teach, students become not only fine artists, but also industrial or graphic designers, illustrators, sculptors, and so on. Russian Art School. What makes it different?
У каждой школы есть определенные свои мировоззрения.
Every art school has its worldview and methods that have been developed over many years and even centuries. It is easy for me to talk about Stroganov Art Academy because I studied there and now I teach at the school. When it comes to the fundamental core of this art academy, it is constructive drawing. In this academy, we have drawings to teach artists to think constructively and three-dimensionally, to understand construction of any object. That is why in drawing, tonal rendering is secondary. It serves the purpose of describing a construction of an object, its cross-sections, volumes, and three-dimensional nature of its shapes and contours. I have to say that all Russian art schools have similar points of view. They all have strong constructive drawing in place. The difference between schools is what they superimpose on such drawing. For example, in Surikov Art Academy, Moscow School of Painting, Sculpture, and Architecture, they put emphasis on making works of art similar to literature that tell stories, describe different moods, where every artwork is designed to portray emotions, states of mind, and hold a deeper meaning. On the other hand, at the Repin Academy of Arts in St. Petersburg, Imperial Academy of Arts, which I like so much because it is the pinnacle of art schools in the world, they combine all the best systems of drawing and deliver the best art education possible. Art students there are learning constructive drawing, as well as drawing styles similar to literature, drawing that is close to painting, easel drawing, monumental drawing, and so on. This is an ideal example how constructive drawing is used as the foundation for all other types, genres, and methods of drawing. The higher the level of classical art education, including academic drawing and painting, an art student receives, the richer and better their art will be. The same applies to graphic and industrial designers, sculptors, and architects. Entry requirements. How to get a strong art education. There are certain requirements to enter the Stroganov Academy of Arts. A person has to demonstrate sufficient drawing skills by making a portrait from life, an artwork of a classic order capital, and a life drawing of a model standing in contrapposto. The better one makes those drawings, the more likely their chances of getting entrance to the academy. So, without good life drawing skills, there is no hope of studying there. That is why future students go through a long process of learning art to enter the Stroganov Academy of Arts. The Academy's curriculum is based on the premise that a student already has to have good skills in order to be able to develop them to the highest professional level in this institution. There is a great number of art schools for children in Russia, where students spend 5 years studying the arts, simultaneously attending their regular schools. By the time a child finishes school, one already knows how to draw figures and portraits. This makes it possible to teach students new techniques and methods and develop their philosophy and creative personality. A graduate of an average Russian children's art school would be considered a professional artist by Western standards. However, this level is not enough to enter the academy. A student has to spend 3 more years in preparatory art courses that are given within the walls of the academy for the purpose of preparing students for drawing entry exams. The academy teachers give these preliminary students the necessary knowledge of drawing techniques, so when those students finally enter the academy, they have the required skills to continue their art education. We have had cases where students are coming from abroad. Unfortunately, they had no chance because their level of art skills was far below the minimum entry requirements. The art classes they had back home did not provide a classical art education. One student did life figure drawings that she thought at the top level of her atelier, yet the quality of her work was greatly inferior to the level required. She had numerous mistakes in body proportions, anatomy, and tonal rendering. Unfortunately, we could not take her because she would not be able to follow the academy's curriculum. The entry competition is very high. Every year, we have more than 50 candidates for every place available. Here are examples of our students' drawings. They give a good idea of the level of skill required to enter the Stroganov Academy of Arts. There is much more to these drawings than an eye sees. The untrained viewer doesn't see what they don't know, and they don't know that the knowledge is missing. If you are a self-taught artist, for example, do not know color theory, or the theory of tonal values, it doesn't matter how accurately you can copy the lights and shadows you see in life. If you don't know how the laws of light create values, then your drawing will look immature. Such knowledge is hard to get by pure practice. You need to have talented teachers explaining and showing you the principles and rules of drawing. That is why art students in Russia go through such long and difficult path of learning how to draw, paint, and sculpt. Learning drawing is not possible by reading how to draw books. This is a long and hard process of practicing, with a teacher polishing their students' understanding of drawing principles step by step. Also, it is very difficult to explain to a self-taught artist where they are making mistakes because a huge amount of knowledge is missing. Until such an artist gets all that is needed to know about constructive drawing and processes that knowledge through hard practice, he or she would have no chance at competing with other students who apply to enter the academy. Skills versus creativity. What is the best way to learn drawing? The majority of Western contemporary art colleges have as their main aim developing creative thinking in their art students. Yet the focus on professional art skills is lost. They want their graduates to have a creative core. Having good drawing skills by the end of college is optional. The approach in Russian art schools is very different. Above all, they give professional art skills, focusing less on developing the creative personality of a student. The reason for such an approach is that every person is creative by default, especially those who choose art as a profession. What these students need to express their creativity are strong skills. That is why Russian art schools give students a solid classical education, which yields great results. With such an education, a person has the possibility to develop their creativity to a very high level. This produces a high number of artists that are creative and having great skills as well. However, if the education system is focusing on finding a personality and developing creativity without giving the necessary skills of trade, such a student would have to search for skills later in his career. So, there is a conflict when an art college develops creative personalities who are not able to produce the art they have in their mind. The ideal approach is when an academic school develops creativity and gives skills simultaneously. That is why, in Russian art school, apart from drawing and painting, students also learn philosophy, economics, history, and all other subjects to get a deeper understanding of the world, to form their personal views, and to develop their creativity. Portrait drawing. How to draw good portraits.
По сути своей, ничего сложного в том, что взять и нарисовать портрет, нет. Все дети рисуют.
There is nothing difficult in drawing portraits. Every child can do it. However, there are naive portraits and professional portraits. There are artists that do primitive works of art that are very impressive and eloquent, but such artworks are labeled as naive art. This is because an artist doesn't know the laws of constructive drawing or chooses not to use them. And there is a completely different level of portrait drawing when an artist knows the anatomy of a human head, its proportions and construction, can use constructive drawing principles, and has proficient skills of tonal rendering. To draw good portraits, you have to know those things and to draw what you know. Life drawing. How to get good figurative drawing skills. I hope you found the story about art education system in Russia interesting. I understand that learning Russian and relocation for 7 years into Moscow or St. Petersburg might not be feasible for you. However, there is a solution. You can learn good drawing skills whatever your level of skills, age, or location. You can do it from the comfort of your home, starting right now. In addition to the Life Drawing Academy online course, there is the Life Drawing Academy correspondence course.
Okay, so I'm going to stop him there because from here on out, basically they're just trying to sell you a correspondence course, okay? But
So do they maintain the standards of acceptance for the correspondence as they do for the actual physical school?
yeah, you've got to go through all the steps and the lessons to get to the next level. And the interesting thing about the correspondence course, which I thought was kind of interesting, is that once you get to a certain level, you know, you're basically given, you know, a kind of like a one-on-one tutor who, you know, is going to follow you, you know, through that whole process to the very end until you graduate. And then even past then, they'll still work with you, you know, as far as, you know, critiquing, stuff like that, you know, well into your career, which is unheard of, you know, in like Western style schools, you know, pretty much so, you know, once they spit you out onto the street and they can't make any more money on you, you know, they're pretty much so done with you here.
They're gone.
Yeah, it's like, nope, go out, go be an artist, you know, whether you got everything you needed or not, you know, that's it. And you know, but you know, what he's talking about is really, you know, the sort of classical approach, you know, that you know, artists took. You know, they didn't call it necessarily academies and things like that. You know, they were like artist studios and ateliers, but you know, they would take on like these fairly young children of about, you know, 11 or 12 years old, and they were sort of predetermined that, you know, in the end they were going to become an artist. You know, that's what they were, you know, or some kind of artist, and they were going to learn some kind of practical skill. And they would work within that atelier for a good number of years. And then they could, you know, more or less go find, you know, another mentor to take them to the next level. And they would have to go through, you know, at least 3 or 4 different steps, you know, before they could actually practice and become a member of the guild. And if you didn't complete those steps, you couldn't be a member of the guild. So it was kind of an interesting process. But
Well, I didn't realize that Russia was even at that level of promoting art of any sort. You think of it more. You think more of the history of things were industrial and the architecture, things of that nature, possibly, but creative art doesn't seem like it would be on the agenda for Russia.
Yeah. Well, I talk about the Russians at certain points, when we're studying painting, stuff like that, because Russia, more than probably any other country in the world, has produced some of the most amazing artists of all time. I mean, they really have. The difference is that there's been brief periods of time where Westerners have gotten to see it, that the society has been open enough, to actually, see what's going on there. But there's so many absolutely amazing Russian artists out there.
Is that something you could show us, one of our morning sessions of art history?
Well, we have. We've touched on a few of them. Isaac Levitan was one of them, a landscape painter. Ilya Repin, Kromskoy. We've covered, quite a few of them, actually.
I guess.
Yeah. And I thought I made a point to emphasize the fact that, they were Russian. But no, after we get through this African thing, that might be the next good step, is to go back through some of the Russian artists, particularly the classical Russian artists, and then also share with you some of the, what we would call contemporary Russian artists. And believe me, what they call contemporary art, is nothing like Western art. It's far more conservative and far more classical. So, but
just the fact that, like you said, that accomplished contemporary artists in the Westerns and having completed education and studying would not even qualify to get into their academies.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's true. I mean, it's tough and very, very competitive. So, it's yeah. Yeah.
This is very
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it and you add up, what he was talking about. Okay, so you have children who at the age of 10 are beginning to study, right? And they're going to study for 5 years within that, elementary sort of level, elementary, middle school sort of level, outside their regular studies. They're going to study art. And by the time that they're done, they're not done. That's just a preparation so that they can actually get into the preparatory program to qualify for the academy. And that
was one of my questions. How do they select these children that young to develop?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's kind of the same way that we do, kids who, go to shop versus algebra. Okay. I'm sure it's, a very similar process. Teachers make observations and recommendations, to the school about who should be directed either in this direction or that direction, based on their interest and performance and, behavior and everything else, temperament. There's some very talented people out there who are, who can draw well, paint well, for the skill level that they're at, but they don't have the patience and they don't have the right temperament to really become a professional artist.
Yes.
They just don't, and, that's just the truth.
Yeah.
I ended up going to school with a couple of them, and you know, I mean, they don't last long. You know, they get bored, you know, and then they kind of rebel against the school, you know, because you know they're struggling, you know, with trying to keep up with the curriculum, and you know, and so they go off and go do something else, or find another place or another source, you know, where that fits them better, you know, and they end up on a different track, you know. So, like it.
Well, same thing. I noticed that there was a promo on TV of a cooking competition for kids, like they do the Top Chef and that kind of thing.
Right.
And they have these young children that are supposedly creating cooking masterpieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and see, again, you know, one of the I think one of the big failings in the Western education process is that for so long, you know, it was like the 3 R's, right? Reading, writing,
Yeah, that's it, right?
yeah, and that's, you know, that's what it was, you know. I mean, you know, of course, at that time, most people could get by, you know, on having just those basic skill sets. And then we kind of expanded the educational system. We began to, again, take children and observe them and then put them on a particular track, either for, you know, college bound and or, you know, some kind of industrial,
Correct.
you know, type school, trade school, something like that. And that went on here in this country for a very long time. And then somewhere about the 1960s, all of that fell apart. And, you know, it kind of went back to, well, it wasn't even the 3 R's, you know, it was kind of like that program, but then, you know, it was all taken up with testing. And, you know, that's how they kind of figured, you know, where your level was, you know, was all by testing. And that's also how they began to look at teacher performance, which was a disservice to the teacher as well. And we stayed with that for a really long time. And in fact, we still kind of do that. You know, it's actually probably gotten worse rather than better. And it doesn't, you know, it doesn't really work. You know, it doesn't really serve the student, and it certainly doesn't serve the instructor either. Because, you know, as a teacher, your hands are sort of tied. You could have exceptionally talented children in certain areas, and you can't really feed that because you have to stick to a particular curriculum, and you can't go outside of that very much, because at the end, you know, all their performance is based off of tests. You know,
Well, that was the thing too. The teachers had to actually submit their lesson plans to the supervisors as to what they were going to present to the students to begin with.
yeah, well, and yeah, but even at that, you know, they can only present certain things, and it's got to fit within the core curriculum.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Right.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of the problem, is that, you know, they're trying to make like a one size fits all,
Right.
and it never will. So, and that's kind of one of the failures of, you know, our educational system in a lot of ways. So,
But do you think in the West there is any emphasis on developing student and art creativity?
you where in the West or
I mean,
in Russia?
like they start with it, like there they showed how the young children were put through all these different art levels to read. Is there any emphasis in the U.S. or the Western world of that emphasis to that extent to
Oh,
get
yeah.
our children into arts?
Well, it's not really,
Yeah.
not with young children. Now, by the time that they become a kind of like a high school student,
Right.
that's when our educational system, will begin to, like, in the local Georgia area, like
Right.
particularly in Cobb County and even in Fulton County, they have what they call magnet programs. Now, magnet programs has really only been around for about 20 years.
Yeah.
When they started dividing the schools back up again and giving them particular specialties. There's schools for, high level science and math. There's schools for arts, performing arts, things like that. And then there are schools that are more, like, job oriented, job training, things like
Right.
that. And, depending on your scores and your teachers' reviews, you kind of get, shuffled into, those.
And that's even more based on the individual student at that age, their desire and their interest.
Right.
It's not taking them at 5 years old and trying to push them or develop them into those tracks, but wait until the person actually has interest. Yeah, I like art, or I want to weld,
Right. Yeah. Well, and in many ways, that's kind of where the Russian system is as well. They don't start them off at 5 years old. I mean, there are art. Art education is a part of their school system. It's built in up until they're about 10 years old. So they've had at least 5, maybe 6 years of, pretty intensive art training in
Right.
the school system, along with their other studies. And, that's going to sort of help separate out, who has a particular talent for it, who has an interest for it, so they can funnel them off in the directions, just like we do. Yeah, because, you can't tell anything at 5 years old, or it's very rare.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, well, and, they do the same thing with athletics, and
True.
they're more formalized about it than we are. We leave kids out there kind of floundering, and if they're exceptionally talented or whatever, and they get on the football team, the basketball team, the baseball team, the track team, and every other, team that the school offers, then, most people acknowledge the fact that, they have an interest in athletics. And then if they perform well, then there are opportunities and things kind of sent their way, So, and the same thing is true with the arts, and, same thing with, science, and, what they call STEM programs, things like that. So, but yeah, it's a different approach.
This was a very interesting presentation. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Okay. All right. So let's see how we're doing time-wise. I think we got a little bit of time. All right. So anybody want to stick around, and I'm going to show you what I've been doing lately, if you're interested.
No, we don't care what you do. Yes, definitely. Let's see it.
Yeah, never mind then. All right. Yeah, I'd like to show you some of this stuff, actually. It's kind of like, sharing with you sort of the roller coaster ride. I mean, you get ideas, you do things, you take a little bit of time, and all of a sudden, it's like you find yourself in a place like, Yeah, I need to make some changes to that. So, yeah, let me share this with you real quick, and I'll try not to make it too long and drawn out. But on Sunday, I was fortunate enough to go to the Artist Resource Center. There we go. Okay.
Is this water?
Huh?
Is this water or acrylic?
No, it's oil.
Oil. Oh.
Yeah. So this is a 2-hour sketch. Okay. Had a lovely model that we had never worked with before. Evidently, she just moved here from New York. She does a lot of work for photographers, but also artists and things. And she was great to work with. You know, she's one of those models you want to get back for like 2 or 3 weeks, you know, at a time, and really, you know, be able to develop like a good finished painting. But this is my 2-hour sketch of her. These are 3-minute drawings, you know, so 3 minutes each. And this was a 10-minute drawing that I did of her. But in talking to her, she was, you know, I've been struggling with a painting now for a good 9 months, and I don't know, you know, I don't know why I drug my feet on doing this, but you know, I really needed to hire a model to, you know, take this particular pose and begin to develop, you know, the painting and resolve some of the issues that I had with it. And you guys had seen this painting before. I'd shown it, and I had a different figure in it. But I took that figure out, and so I've started over again. So I had to block out the previous figure, and I repainted, you know, her figure, and I still have the hands to develop, and you know, some finer details and things. But the reason that I did her nude was that I'm going to have clothing on her that's transparent, and I'm going to be building it up with glazes so that the transparency remains. And I should have pulled what this looked like before. You know, like I said, you've seen it.
Yeah, that originally it has some type of clothing on it, correct?
Well, the other one that I showed you was more toward the finish. You know,
Okay.
yeah, I did it the same way. You know, this is just in an earlier stage. You know, because literally, let's see, you know, I saw her, did some drawings and took some photographs on Sunday. And so basically I worked on this Sunday evening and Monday evening. And this is where I've got it so far. And so I have a long way to go, you know, but, you know, literally went back in and just repainted like 2/3 of the painting, you know, the full, started on the figure totally over again, and repainted the background area. And so I'm developing that as well, you know, because it's got to sort of integrate with her. The only thing I didn't really repaint were the planets themselves. And, you know, and I've got to change that one, which is Neptune, you know, because in the previous pose, part of her head was covering up that left side of the planet. So now I've got to, you know, flush out the full shape of the planet and finish it. You know, this one right here. Yeah, we can see the cursor, dark background. So I've got to go back and rework this. You know, and I'll probably work on all of these a little bit and try to push the line on them some more. But you know, this is one of those paintings that I got to a certain point I like the concept, I like the idea of it, but I wasn't happy with the painting itself. I wasn't happy with the figure. I wouldn't, you know, it didn't quite get me where I wanted to be with it. And this isn't where I want to be with it yet, but, you know, I feel a lot more, I guess, optimistic, you know, about, you know, bringing this to a finish, you know, than I did, you know, continuing to work with the way it was. So it, you know, it was worth the time, you know, to, you know, every once in a while, if something's not working for you, you know, you take it out and you rework it. So it just happens, right? So that's where I am on that. And I've also been doing some still lifes. This is something that I had actually originally started many years ago, and it got set into the stacks. It's some dogwoods, you know, dogwood flowers. And this is a Art Nouveau vase that came from France that I own. I own a set of those. I have 2 of them. And I never really got around to finishing this. So, you know, I've put a little more paint in the background to get the, you know, the background is still a little bit thin. And so I probably have to hit it like probably 3 or 4 more times to get a really good, you know, fairly even, you know, dark color back there. And then I'll begin to develop, you know, more of the flowers and the leaves and things at that point. But this is a 24 by 30. So it's, you know, pretty good size painting. And then let's see. This is one I'm calling Finished Finally. And this is one that I had started back in 2017 or 18. And for those of you who went to Benson, you might know this guy. His name is Paul Heffernan. He took that plein air class with me. And back here in the back, guess who this is under the gazebo? That's Claudia, you know, who is a member of our class. And she was out there painting. And so this is in Sandy Springs. This is at Heritage Park. And so, you know, pretty much so I'm calling this one done. Finally. But that's kind of the way it goes. You know, it's like you work on them and then it's kind of like, and you kind of set them aside, look at them, think about them a little bit, you know, maybe go back, putz with them a little bit more, you know, until you kind of work through everything and get it the way you want it. And then last but not least, and this is not finished either, but, you know, I like where this is going. And this is the Valentine still life. So these are the flowers that I got Maria for Valentine's Day. And I'm doing this glass vase and this piece of fabric that's actually an upholstery fabric. But, you know, I like the color of it and the texture of it. It's got a lot of interesting pattern. And, you know, I'm at the point where I got everything blocked in and I got a lot of contrast in light and dark, you know, in the vase itself and in the flowers, you know, the little baby's breath. And so what I've done is I'm kind of at the stage where I'm beginning to glaze all of that stuff back, you know, kind of like you do with your drawing. You know, you put in your initial drawing and you start laying in some tones and stuff. And then what do? You know, you take it and you rub it back, right? Well, same thing here. You know, I'm at that stage where I'm beginning to glaze things back so that the lights, you know, are not as bright. And, you know, so I've what that does is it pushes them back into a mid-tone. And so I've already got my darks. Now I've developed, or I'm in the process of developing my mid-tones. And the last part of it will be really going back in and putting in the lights, you know, after all of this sets up and dries. But, you know, when you put a glaze on it, you know, you got to wait, you know, about 2 to 3 days before you can go back and put another glaze on it. If you try to do it before then, and the paint really hasn't set up, all you're going to do is you're going to take the previous paint passage, and you're going to wet it and loosen it again, and you know, start moving it around, which is not what you want to do. You want it to stay there, and you want to build those layers up, you know, as you glaze it back. So this probably has, you know, if I had to make a guess, probably about 2 to 3 more passages of glazing over it. And once I get it all glazed back, like I said, I'll begin to move into, you know, putting, you know, opaque lights down, you know, to really kind of pop out, you know, the light, you know, from the mid-tone and the shadow. So, yeah. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah. Not a lot, but, you know, something. Anybody got any questions, comments? Anybody want to ask me about something you don't understand?
Hey,
Say what?
see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Oh, okay. You want me to go away? All right. All right. Well, it is 3:50. It's a little bit early, but okay. Anyway, thank you all for coming. And yes, we will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And we're gonna look at, like I said, I got about 6 or 7 different African artists that I want to show you their work. And these are all contemporary African artists. So you'll get to kind of look at what they're doing versus some of the very traditional African art, you know, that we've looked at so far. And I've got, let's see what, well, I really only have like 1 video. And it's an interview with this guy. And it's an interesting interview. Yes, I think you guys will enjoy it. So at any rate, we'll do that at 10 in the morning, okay? So have your coffee ready. And, you know, you might want to write some of that stuff down. So have a piece of paper and a pen, and we'll do it tomorrow, okay?
Very good.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, well, I guess we'll see you all tomorrow.
Yep. All right. So take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.